What is the Matrix?
Hi. Welcome back to a brand new video of the Targeted Individual Program, Targeted Individual Experience. So again, I want to show you guys how they would send subliminal message after they engage in a psychological blitz attack and microwave frequency attacks, right? Microwave and radio wave frequency attacks. Again, engaging in the noise attacks to basically harm you psychologically as well as physically. Okay. Let me just say that. So I get home and, I'm on Facebook. All of a sudden I get a message from one of my Facebook friends. Okay. Now, again, I'm like, okay. Remember I talk about how they will use people, basically hijacking their consciousness, their conscious mind, to send me videos, what have you. It's all subliminal, but I just want you to understand what it is that they're trying to do, right? See, the white races, they attack black people, black men, black women, and particularly me being a TI and a black person, and what they'll do is, again, if they cannot control you, they'll destroy you. So as a black person, if you have aspirations, you have ambition to create a company or what have you, business, particularly in certain areas that they are highly protective of, you don't have a chance. Okay? You don't have a chance. I'm going to tell you right now. The only how you will have a chance is if you know what's going on. They have not manipulated you, have not entrap you or try to set you up in any way, and there are people around you that are protecting you because they know what it is that's being done to black people, particularly black men and women. Okay, so after, let's say you were a black person who wanted to start a business in a certain industry, okay, they will try to set you up, manipulate you so they can control you. All right. Particularly when it comes to the tech sector, advertising, television, media, medical, scientific, right? Again, these are the areas in which people need in order to progress, right? And move their society or people forward, okay? And so after they've sabotaged you, okay, doing it covertly, right, working in the shadows to manipulate people around you to make it hard for you, then they'll come and say, okay, well, hey, go ahead. Let's see how far you can get. All right. After they've done villainize you, destroy your name, your character, your image. And they're like, okay, well, there you go. Go ahead. Right. Meanwhile, you can't get a loan, a business loan, nothing, because they've ruined every opportunity that you tried in order to obtain one. Okay. So I want you to understand the mindset of these white races and how they operate, and how we as black people fall for their agendas, and we blame ourselves and each other and not understanding what's going on. So I'm going to show you guys, again, this just popped up not too long ago where I got a message right here at 11:08, right? And you'll see in this video, and let me open up the link and
Astrological consultations available now at sacredtea.net.
okay.
Hey, babies, it's Mama T, back with another one. Yeah, I'm out here in my little spot again, getting my downloads on top this roof here, looking at everything around me in nature, listening to nature. talking to nature, being one with everything natural on this planet. Trying my best. But something on my mind I want to talk to y'all about. And this thing, y'all want to always wonder, now, why is it that my people are the only ones arguing about the origins of all people? I tell this video before, and this is the last time, Mercury retrograde, sometimes you got to go back and say it again. Baby, why are you arguing over where you from when we from everywhere on this planet? Now, this is what amazes me about some of you scholars and some of you who in your 8x10 room filled with books, but not one of them books taught you how to get on out that room and grow you some food for your people. I've been watching some of you for 20 years arguing over the same thing. We Hebrew, we African, we indigenous, we this, we Islam, we this, that, and the other. But none of y'all have collectively put your money together to buy 2 acres of land to grow you some food to feed the people you fighting with.
All right, let me pause that. So I wrote a response, and I said, my response was, the thing with particularly Black women, whether they're old or young, right, is that when it comes to understanding racism and systemic racism, they have no clue what it is. Only when it affects them directly, even though it affects them anyway. But I mean, let's say they went to apply for a position at their job. They're top, over everybody else, and they didn't get it. Right? Then they realize that, okay, I hit a glass ceiling because I'm a Black woman. Right? So only at that point, now they will talk about or recognize systemic racism. Okay? Because they get to sit in their office with their white colleagues. And again, they don't quite understand that the reason why they're there is because these white colleagues, usually white males, are intimidated by Black men. Okay? And so it is easier to allow the Black woman to get that position because then they're not threatened. Okay? Again, competition between males. This is what, again, our women don't quite understand, particularly when it comes to the white male mindset, right? That they feel threatened by masculine Black men. Or Black men, period. Or an intelligent brother, a smart brother. Now, she's talking about these intellectuals who have all these books and all this stuff. They are white intellectuals that don't know how to plant food. Okay? You have Asian intellectuals, Arab intellectuals that don't know how to create a garden and plant it. They have other people of the group who knows how to do that, and they do that. Okay? Are you going to ask a farmer to come to college and teach a class? Or are you going to go to an intellectual? Right? So again, not understanding that within the society, you have different people within the same group with different sets of skills that are needed. Okay? Not everyone is multi-genius. Okay? So you expect an intellectual to all of a sudden become a gardener or a farmer. Okay? Again, you're saying that to the wrong people. We have Black farmers who are fighting to keep their farm because they are being sabotaged. Okay? The United States government, particularly the agricultural division of the U.S. government, right? And the banks, as well as white farmers, has, over the past 100 years, have colluded together to steal farms from Black people. Okay? Now, let's talk about the Black celebrities. That's who you should be directing your messages to. Not to the intellectuals, but the black celebrities or the black wealthy class to invest in the black farmers, to help them build their farmland, to help them build the production facility to where they can have bottled milk, mass production of bottled milk, right? Mass production in terms of creating cereal brands and the production facilities to create, to do the research, okay? Hiring nutritionists, scientists, okay, who will create these things that is going to be healthy and benefit black people. See, she's a beautiful sister, older sister. But again, like I said, when you say things like that, when she's saying things like that, it just shows me how much, again, and I've said this all the time, when it comes to our women, they have been removed from who they truly are, from their position, right? And to understand that, you have to go back to ancient Kemet, ancient Nubia, ancient Kush. Right? Our women, black women, were who they call the most intelligent, the most wisest. And that if you were to become a king or a queen, it has to come from the line of the mother, the woman. Because the women were the creators of life, the goddess, right? Or I should say the Neterus, not the goddess, but the Neterus, the feminine divine creator, right? She was that vessel that in her life is formed and created and grow. And she's responsible for bringing that life into the light of the world. You were created in darkness, but I brought you out of darkness into the light of the world. I am your feminine Neteru. This is what women knew. You see, also, for black people, and it's not just for black women, but black men too, when they get into a certain position in life where they're doing well for themselves, for their family, right? They tend to not think about systemic racism in such a way in which the vast majority of black people who are not doing well have to think about. They don't turn around and say, hey, let me help you up. This is why I do certain things with my kids. For example, it may take me a couple months, but I build these budget computers and I have my kids donate them to their classmates. Okay. And I have to finish building this one, which I'm going to have my daughter donate to one of her classmates. I don't have the money to outright buy a computer and donate to them. And I know a lot of parents don't have the money to do that. Right. But me understanding how important it is, right? And me teaching their kids that, listen, even if you're not wealthy, right? You can always do something for someone, right? That can help them. And who knows? The computer that my kids donate to their classmate, those classmates might need a computer and they might use their computer to help them in their studies, to make it easy for them, right? To do research and help them in their studies and grow up to go to college and achieve, what they want to achieve. Right. And I say that in understanding that, as black people, we have uphill battle, right? Our community has always been, or the community that we live in, sabotage our businesses, sabotage. Okay, we are allowed to have small businesses, okay, but not multi-million-dollar businesses. Okay, and now there are black people that own multi-million-dollar businesses, but they are few and far in between compared to other groups of people who have and have created multi-million-dollar companies or some multi-billion-dollar companies that employ thousands of people, of their people, or people, period. Okay? So, again, like I said, and then when you look at those businesses, or those black people who own those businesses, right? The majority are black men. Very few black women own multi-million-dollar companies in which they employ hundreds of people. Okay? So women's mindset, doesn't matter what ethnicity they come from, are more easily manipulated by money, wealth, and status as opposed to men. So this is why when it comes to understanding the intricacies, I'm saying that, pronounce that, the intricacies of white supremacists and racism, white racism, and the war against black people, and particularly against black men, in terms of creating businesses, creating the things that black people need that's going to benefit their health, their mind, their ability to get loans from the bank, which we had before in this country. Okay? The Freedman Bank, right? And what happened? Again, there's a long history here, but we tend to forget, right? Because like I said, we are being hit with technology, right? And microwave and radio frequency weapons, noise included, to affect our cognitive ability to learn and to think. Okay? So also what she was saying about black people all over this planet, she's right. Right? And she's not saying that just to say it, but the scientists already, whether they're white, Asian, the Arabs don't lie, right? Because there's not all of them, but most of them, right? Well, they still don't want to give black people credit. Okay? But the Chinese, Japanese, they'll tell you the first inhabitant of their country were black. And obviously it would be if black people migrated out of Africa over 100,000 years ago, those people were black. Okay? Scientists will tell you that when you look at everybody's DNA, we have some DNA that are different, but some more, but we have DNA that are the same. Okay? So she's absolutely right. Right? But you can't ask intellectuals to go plant a garden. You need people who have that mindset of being farmers, of being gardeners, that have that love of earth and that love of growing food. Right? So in society, you need intellectuals, you need scientists, you need doctors, you need soldiers, right? You need lawyers, right? You need psychiatrists, psychologists, you need teachers. You cannot ask an intellect, like I said, unless he's a multi-genius and he loves those things, right? So, but the purpose of me sharing this with you is because, again, what they try to do with me in terms of, using their mind control, their thought reform, and the fact that, they can no longer manipulate me. And I've walked away from situations in which they have over and over again tried to manipulate me into in order to create issues and problems, right? So all of a sudden they'll send you this subliminal message, the fallen. uh, no, I didn't. I haven't felt. I've rised. I've rise in the truth, in understanding the truth, right? But because we have been taught to place importance on material things, that when you don't have those things, then they'll tell you, well, you're nothing, you're this and that. But I don't go by that mantra. Okay, that's a European mindset. And like I said, I've kicked out that European racist that was living in my mind a long time ago, and he's never getting back in. So, when they try to make it seem like if you're losing or you're falling, what have you, it is not you, it is them, and they're trying to project how they are, how they feel at the given moment or at any time onto you. Okay, so yeah, I'm saying, you see, because we hear women talk about, I walk away from that situation, I need my peace, right? Well, black men can't walk away from a lot of situations because we need our peace. Okay, see, their manipulation is not going to work, and they know it. So they do these kind of experiments, right? Whether it be social experiments or experimenting on human beings because of technology that they've developed and they created. But the fact is, black men will never become subservient, right? We don't ask white men to become subservient. We don't ask Asian men to become subservient. We don't ask Arab men to become subservient, right? So you cannot manipulate black men into becoming subservient. And this is why a lot of black women have this masculine mindset, because they condition them to believing that they're the men. This is why when a man says something and the woman feels like she has to have the last word to get into an argument, they're trying to run and say, oh, you're not a man, you're arguing with a woman. No, you're not a woman because you're arguing with a man. You understand? I want you to understand how they turn things around for us as black people, black men and black women. When a white man and a white woman is arguing, she's not saying to him, you're not a man for arguing with a woman. Okay? Most of the time, she becomes quiet and stop arguing. And I'm not being male chauvinist, it's just that she understands that he's a man. Right? And white men don't play. Okay? See, they want you to believe that black men are abusive. White men are way more abusive. Go look at their history when it comes to how they treat their women. Okay? So that's not going to work. This is why when black women go to other countries like Japan, they go to the Arab Emirates, to the AU, or to go to Europe, some places in Europe, when they act as how they would act towards black men in America, they get a wake-up call. When they go to Africa, they get a huge cultural shock. Right? But America has corrupted the minds of our women, black women. Okay? So, like I said, your failed experiment in trying to use me or any other TI to condition us into becoming silent and remaining silent about the crimes being committed against us, the non-consensual experimentation. But me as a black person, now you've been trying to make me subservient to a woman who have no respect for me or no respect for any man, period. It's not going to work. And what they're doing, and our women are falling for it, hook, line, and sinker, because when they execute their plan, okay, black women will be left unprotected. they would become what's the word? The concubines for not just white men, but for the Arab men. Go look and see how they treat black women in these Arab countries. Go look and see. Again, the truth is right in front of our eyes, but we refuse to look at it because we rather believe the lie. And particularly when it comes to women, they rather believe what their mind is telling them instead of looking at the reality and becoming more conscious so that their mind can tell them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear. And they will appreciate black men for telling them the truth and not telling them what they want to hear, but what they need to hear. And other black women tell them the same thing also. Right? But the conditioning is powerful. It is strong. And it has taken hold in the mindset of black women, the majority. This is why 86% of them believe in religion as compared to white people. Okay? And again, I don't say this to say this. I'm going to show you guys. So hold on a sec. Okay, so this comes from the Pew Research Center. Okay, black men are less religious than black women, but more religious than white men and women. Okay, let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, so let's see. Research have shown that men in the United States are generally less religious than women. And while this pattern holds true among black women tend to be more religious than black men. Black men are still a highly religious group. In fact, black men are not only more religious than white men, but they also tend to be more religious than white women. A Pew Research Center analyst shows black men are also more religious than Hispanic men and at least as religious as Hispanic women on a number of key issues indicators of religious observance. So, most black men are highly religious, but not as highly religious as black women. So, they break down the percentage. Okay? Says religion is very important. Black men, 69%. Black women, 80%. Hispanic men, 53%. Hispanic women, 65%. Now listen to this. The very people who gave you your religion, regardless of what you Negroes want to say, what you Nigerians want to say. Okay? White men, 43%. White women, 55%. Okay? So like I said, I'm not saying this just to make stuff up. Okay? And this is why we are, as black people, black men and black women, we are easily manipulated because of our religious belief system. Right? That when it comes to science, technology, engineering, the vast majority of us have no clue. All right? Because not only that, but we are kept out of those industries because those industries are important for the survival of our people and others within the society. But not also that, right? Our enemies are not going to share with us their development of technology that is meant to control us and manipulate us. Just like in psychiatry, right? Psychological conditioning. Okay, and I can pull up the stats on that because I'll tell you, for black people, it's not good. It's not good. Okay? Now, let's get back to the issue here, right? So when it comes to sabotaging black people and keeping us poor, right? We're talking about corporations between the U.S. government, financial institutions, right? The private job sector, as well as public job sector, right? The federal government is the biggest employer of black people in America. Okay? So think about that. All right. So this is a video I'm not going to play because it's almost 27 minutes long. And but I just want you to understand so you guys can go look at this from the black journals. Okay. But let's look at some articles. Talks about the intentional sabotage of African American wealth. Okay. So African American wealth has and is being intentionally sabotaged, according to a report released this week from the Corporation of Economic Development and the Institute for Policy Studies. If current trend persists, it will take 228 years for African American families to accumulate the same amount of wealth as white Americans. By 2043, the year the U.S. Census Bureau projects white American to be the minority in the U.S., the racial wealth gap between African Americans and white American household will double from $500,000 to $1 million, the report says. So right now, right, the wealth gap for white families and black families, again, white families have $500,000 more dollars in wealth than black families. Black families today have about what, $13,000 to $14,000, right? So by 2043, $1 million will be the wealth gap between white and black in this country. Okay. In a 4-part series that begins this week, I examined the historical and modern drivers of the African American white America wealth gap and possible solutions. In this initial column, I begin with the historical drivers of the gap. Let's start with a recent story about African American farmers and work our way back. Okay, so African American farmers in the Mid-South region surrounding Memphis use science to uncover what they charge is a multi-million-dollar scheme to put them out of business and steal their land. A lawsuit alleged that at the Mid-South Farm and Gin Show in March of 2017, Stein Seed Companies purposely sold African American farmers fake seeds. Again, I'm not making this shit up. So when these white racists want to act as if like black people don't try and we haven't been trying, we have. Right? But what they've done, again, is sabotage our very efforts. You know, I love when they try to send me subliminal messages like this because, again, you know, I know the truth. And so what they do, they just, you know, make me determined to keep exposing them. Right? Because for me, black people need to wake up and understand what's going on. We look and we blame each other for things that are being done covertly behind our backs, in the shadows, the manipulation, the sabotage, all these things. Okay? And then we turn around and we say, okay, well, it's your fault. Right? So they turn around and tell these farmers, no, it's your fault. It's your fault. You don't know how to farm. Meanwhile, these farmers are buying seeds from white companies that are intentionally sabotaging them. Okay? All right. So by hurting those farmers' bottom line, someone else would be able to swoop in and buy up the land that belongs to African American farmers. Stein has vowed to fight vigorously what company representative label as lawsuit without merit. So again, they're selling black farmers fake seeds, and then when they're being sued, they say that it is the lawsuit is without merit. Okay, because that's what they do. They don't respect us because they can use us against each other. They can use our religious belief system to have us engage in behaviors towards each other that are destructive. Okay? So, 80 years ago, there were 1 million African American farmers. Imagine that, 1 million African American farmers. 80 years. Today, there are less than 5,000. The sons and daughters of African American farmers want to farm. Just like the sons and daughters of white American farmers, the sons and daughters of African American farmers want to farm, and they point to malicious intent as an ongoing obstacle. In 1998, the United States Department of Agriculture Commission on Small Farm acknowledged that the history of discrimination at the U.S. Department of Agriculture is well documented. So again, it is well documented, but these farmers are still being blamed. You know, like how brainwashed we have to be as black people that when the truth is in front of our face, we still turn around and blame each other. But again, you guys don't want to believe me when I talk about these technologies that are being used to control our minds, to subdue our emotions, to make us even more religious, to manipulate us using psychological methods and tactics, using economics, right, to promote a small number of us and parade them in front of our faces and say, if you believe in God, you can achieve this. They keep dangling the carrots in front of our faces, and we keep falling for it. While the vast majority of us, no matter how hard we work, no matter how we try to create businesses, is being sabotaged. Right here in Brooklyn, right? The Jews were engaging in stealing black people's homes, right? Getting them fired from their job because they know how much money they make, how much money they have in the bank. And so they will get them fired from their job, right? Prevent them from getting other jobs so they can, default on their mortgage, and they come in and steal their homes, right? And then, you know, as black people, we want to act as if we are the when it comes to morality, that we are highly moral. We are not highly moral people. We are highly brainwashed people, right? Because you want to play clean when your enemy is playing dirty and has always been playing dirty. So you can't defeat an enemy that plays dirty if you don't play dirty also. Okay? Anyway, let me continue. In 1998, the U.S. Department of Agriculture Commission on Small Farms acknowledged that the history of discrimination at the U.S. Department of Agriculture is well documented against African American farmers who were pushed off their land for decades through racially biased law and practices and lack of access to loan. While farmland was being snatched away from African Americans in rural areas, African Americans in urban areas also were discrimination targets. Racial discrimination in mortgage lending in the 1930s shaped the demographic of wealth patterns of African American communities today. The study of the National Community Reinvestment Coalition discovered that 3 out of 4 neighborhoods with redlined on government maps 80 years ago continued to struggle economically. And when the federal government wasn't redlining, it was running highways through historically African American neighborhoods, destroying homes and community culture. In Memphis, boss E.H. Crump initiated the federal-funded slum clearance that cleared the area west of Lauderdale and Vance Avenue to Mississippi Boulevard. The area featured houses that range from size from the Robert Church Mansion to the Hooks family single-story single-family home, and small businesses such as flower shops, groceries, cafes, and funeral parlors. Crump didn't wipe out the slum. He tore down a stable, middle-class African-American neighborhood. Okay? The Memphis Housing Authority levied a 46-acre area and replaced the single-family homes with a low-rise 900-unit public housing complex dubbed the Foot Homes. Now that public housing complex has mostly been demolished as it gives way to multi-use development branded South City. The discrimination didn't stop at land, bad loans, redlining, and the destruction of communities. African Americans were sold smaller policies at higher rates, according to the Memphis Poverty Report. The median income for African American has stubbornly remained at approximately 50% of income for whites since the 1950s. So, like I always said, white people don't want black people on equal economic footing. Okay? We are wasting our time when it comes to reparation, right? And what we need to do, and if you go to the there's a Dr. Ray Higgins, his YouTube channel, right? They have it's not he, but he's part of this African American fund, right? In which people donate money to, again, start to in order so that those money can accumulate and where loans can be given out, the things that black people need, businesses, hospitals, all this stuff, right? We have so much spending power in this country, right? But we give it all away to white people. And again, it's not our fault because, again, most of the things that we use are sold by white companies. So this is why the black wealth class need to shift their thinking from an individual mindset to a group mindset. They have the financial resources. Okay? So, for me, like I said, it's just amazing how they act as if, black people are so free and we can achieve whatever we want to achieve. If that was the case, black people are the hardest working people in this country, have been the hardest working people in this country. Okay? So if hard work equals success, hard work for black people does not equal success. Okay? It leads to early death, right? It leads to illnesses with our health, psychological issues, because we work twice as many hours as white Americans. Okay? So, historically, African American wealth has been intentionally sabotaged. From income to housing to insurance, African Americans have been discriminated against in nearly every aspect of financial life. Wealth compound over multi-generations. African Americans' opportunity to compound wealth have been criminally curtailed by theft, vandalism, terrorism, overcharging, and discrimination. Right? Then it goes on to say, and the discrimination has to stop. That's not going to happen. If they just, I keep saying, they pass bills and laws of anti-Semitism, but they're not passing bills and laws for anti-black. Okay? And black people suffer more violence because of who we are than any other group of people. Right? But yet they've never passed an anti-black bill. Okay? Another article, Black Economic Development Intentionally Sabotaged Throughout U.S. History. Okay? It's sad to say, but I've had people suggest to me in conversation that black people haven't done much during our time in this country. Though some may recognize the effect that slavery, segregation, Jim Crow laws, and mass incarceration has had on African Americans' ability to develop economically in this country, others surprisingly do not. Even so, I like to point out that black economic development have been happening, but has also been intentionally sabotaged again and again by racist individuals, organizations, and institutions throughout American history. Gentrification is a widely discussed as is a widely discussed as topic in the United States, often under the guise of urban redevelopment. Again, gentrification is violence against black people and poor people. Okay, there are cases in every state where minority communities were pushed out of the areas where they're settled by higher price rent and property taxes. Here in Seattle, the historically black University District was redeveloped, pushing hundreds of black people out of the community they've lived in for decades. Gentrification is a practice we're fighting against because it disturbs our process of economic development. Right? Understand this. So white people and they will have, remember, white people don't, every day, all white people, they don't got to worry about who have their back. They know who have their back. Okay? They know who have their back. Black people we have to worry about who have our backs. Right? Because most of us don't even have each other's back. Right? So we've recognized the pattern that once we build up our communities, we're priced and pushed out of it. So again, when black people settle somewhere and start to create, right, and again start to do well for themselves, they're then pushed out of those communities. Okay? This is a practice that stems from former ways that whites violently push black out of communities. Redevelopment wiped out Detroit Black Bottom. The history of Black Bottom is very close to my heart. Detroit is a place where many black refugees, formerly enslaved Africans suffering from historically charged violence in the South, would migrate to. These refugees included my own family. My grandmother's parents were pastors whose church had been burnt down by the KKK in retaliation for their strongly worded messages empowering the local black communities. White people don't want black people to empower ourselves and our communities. Okay? So when they want to act like as if, black person, they're always trying to start business and failing. Yeah, because they're purposely sabotaging those businesses. Okay? Remember, our community, the community that we live in, is the most surveilled. So these Negropeans out there who think that their phone that they're speaking on is not compromised, even the one that's targeting us as TIs. Okay? No one's phone in America is secure. All of our conversations are being recorded. Everything that we do on the internet is being recorded and archived. Not just by our government, but you have other private institutions that archive the internet daily. Okay? So, the area was nationally recognized for its music scene and popular, just like Harlem, right? See what happened in Harlem with popular musicians from Detroit owned Aretha Franklin to Duke Ellington performing in the area's clubs and bars. Again, I mentioned Harlem. And again, I don't have a problem with people. Again, it is not our community anyway. You look at who owns these buildings, these properties. It isn't black people. Okay? And the reason why we don't own them is not that we don't want to own them. It's because we are priced out of them. White people have to control everything surrounding black people. And controlling black people, period. I keep talking about the socio and psychopath empathic relationship white people have towards black people, but black people don't want to see it. They don't want to see it. Okay. Black Bottom is where Reverend C.R. Franklin, Aretha's father, first opened the new Bethel Baptist Church on Hastings Street that had formerly been the center of Eastern European Jewish settlement prior to World War I. With more blacks concentrated in the area, it was booming with black-owned businesses and clubs. During the Great Depression, Black Bottom suffered much more severely than other areas. Many of the black wage earners that spend their money in the area were some of the first to lose their jobs. During World War II, as spending continually declined, so did the physical structure of the area in an effort to combat what city officials call urban blight. With the urban renewal program that was launched in the early 1960s, like many programs that failed to consult the community being affected. So they didn't even have respect to go to the people and say, hey, this is what we're going to do. Or let's hear your proposal. Okay? The program was cloaked with language that seemed to help impoverished communities and communities of color, but showed no evidence of doing so. And he talked about burning down Tulsa, Black Wall Street. We know, the massacre of black landowners. White people have done such a damn good job of manipulating black people, murdering, oppressing black people, right? And because of their religion that they gave us, it is the greatest weapon used against black people. And I always say, Jesus Christ is not black people's savior. So I don't know why we're waiting for Jesus to come back. He is white people's savior. Because of Jesus, black people have no fight in them. Okay? The psychological trauma caused by violence against black people transfer itself onto our kids, including us. Okay? So I'm not going to read all this. And just so you think that because this is, years ago, right? There's actually a wealthy black suburb in Washington, D.C., Maryland area, that when the 2008 economic collapse happened, it devastated that community. Okay, so even wealthy black people, when economic downturn happened, they are greatly affected as opposed to wealthy white communities. Okay? So again, I just want to show. So when they try to act as if, because when they whitelist me, when they try to destroy my character, destroy my name, my image, right, using covert means, when they experiment on me, legally microchip me, right, because they want to control me, right, elevate me, but they got to control me. But the minute I said no, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to allow you to use me as a tool against my people, right? Because any black person who they elevate, they don't do anything for black people in the black community. Nothing. Okay, and the few people that do, okay, they sabotage them or they limit what it is that they can do. If they have not entrapped them, if they have not set them up, they're constantly trying to do those things to them. All right? So, like I said, I don't let these things faze me and bother me because I know the truth. All right? And knowing the truth and knowing and seeing the reality, doesn't make me depressed. I'm happy I know the truth. Because I know when I stand next to certain groups of people that they can't lie to me. Right? That I don't need you to tell me what I want to hear to make me feel good. Because I know when you do that, you know, it benefits you, not me. Right? So, anyhow, tell you, hilarious, man. Hilarious. Anyhow, I'll talk to you guys in the next video. All right.